Okay, so my name is Bryce Watkins, and these are my favorite photographs from each of the topics we have discussed throughout my time in this course. During my time in this course, we discussed quite a few different techniques for taking a photograph. The ones that I will be discussing are composition, light, black and white, perspective, and portraits. So for composition, I chose this photograph of some moss growing up a tree as my favorite. When we discussed composition, we went over how the main aspect of your image should be positioned within the frame for the best possible demonstration. So for this image, I used the rule of thirds. This rule makes you take the main aspect of the image and place it into 1/3 of the frame. This can be the upper third, lower thirds, or off to the side. This was one of my favorite techniques to use, and I tried to incorporate this into as many different assignments as I could. So for this image, I placed the tree to the right of the picture. This allowed some of the background to be placed to the left of the image. I feel that this use of composition allowed this tree to stand out quite a bit more than it would have if you positioned it directly in the center. This left extra space for the woods in the background and sort of gave this image an ominous feel, in my opinion. Though on the opposite side, it can also give a theme of growth. Just as the tree is growing, the moss is growing upwards with it. So overall, this is by far my favorite way to use composition, especially for outdoor scenery. It is very dynamic in the different ways that you can use it and can allow for some great photographs. So for light, I used window light for this image. This is my dog Chloe, and she is a teacup Yorkie. For this image, I was at my house when I noticed some light peeking in through one of our windows. I saw her and thought she would be the perfect subject to capture some of this incoming light. Window light was my favorite out of the different examples that we were shown, as it can be used in a lot of different ways. Such as my example, you can have a very bright image with accents of the window light coming into play, though on the opposite end, you can have a completely dark background and use the window light to highlight only your subject. Window light is extremely diverse and can be used in lots of different settings. It will allow you to capture a very unique photograph that will greatly highlight your subject. For the black and white assignment, I decided to take a photograph of the tire of my parents' trailer. For this assignment, my goal was to elicit some sort of emotion of nostalgia. I wanted my images to not focus on just one thing in the image, but have accents of everything throughout it. I think this image turned out very well. It truly stripped down the entire image into its basic form and allowed the viewer to have their own interpretation. When I saw this project, I immediately knew I wanted my images to feel like they were from the past. You always see images from the past that are a little blurry and are in black and white. I knew the exact feeling I got when seeing those and wanted to create that same emotion for others. I feel that I did pretty good with that, except with today's technology, it is a little harder to get that blurriness that you would get with an older camera. Though overall, I feel that this image turned out great and was truly able to display a great deal of emotion. The idea of perspective is very cool in and of itself, as you have 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point perspective. For this image, I was leaving UC's Charleston campus when I saw how well the light was hitting the School of Pharmacy building. I immediately slowed down in my car to capture this image. For this, I used the 3 point perspective to capture both sides of the building, as well as the ground it stands on. With this image, you can notice a glare coming from it. This is due to my car window, as I tried to capture the image as quickly as I could. Though some may see this as a negative factor, I see this as giving the overall photograph a little more character. I believe this image turned out great, and it truly encapsulated just how beautiful buildings can be with the right lighting and perspective. Portraits have always been something I struggled with. On vacations or outings with my friends and family, they're always asking for pictures of themselves to capture the memories. I always feel that when I'm asked to take these images, they seem to turn out subpar. I found that the use of lighting was important to the overall aspect of the image. For this, I took many different pictures of my subject with a multitude of different lightings. Some were outdoors, indoors, and some in the shade. Though I soon found that I liked the outdoor lighting quite a bit more. After experimenting with it some more, I found that it is all about placement so that the light can hit your subject at just the right angle. This will accent their facial features as well as giving them a very good glow. The next thing I found helpful was placement of the background. Background doesn't always have to be blurred, but for the images I was taking, I thought it looked best. Overall, portraits are very hard to get the hang of, though it is very rewarding when you get the images you are looking for. So, in conclusion, photography is not easy at all. It takes many considerations with your approach to get your intended photograph, whether this be lighting, perspective, composition, etc. All of the elements play a major role in how your final image will look. The only way to get better with photography is to have practice and try to master your defined skills. Even though photography is very difficult, it is definitely not impossible. It is a very rewarding feeling when you finally get the images you had pictured in your head.